Okay.
Okay, so it's like 1985. I'm on mushrooms. I'm getting the shit kicked out of me by police. And I'm thinking, hardcore's kind of played out. Because I got snitched on by friends. And I'm like, fuck this shit. What's going to happen now? And the shared aesthetic here, I think, is the idea that things had to get fucking freaky. If you didn't have the character to be straight edge, you could do a lot of drugs, lift a lot of weights, fuck shit up. But the rest of the 80s, you had to make a change ontologically. And I think that's what happened in Austin with you and with the scene that you were a part of. Well, you were an Air Force brat, right?
Yes.
What rank was your dad?
When he retired, he was a lieutenant colonel.
How did that influence you? Did you enjoy being in a military family?
He taught me how to have good manners and how to say yes ma'am and no sir, and I'm sorry, no ma'am and yes sir. And stuff like that, and taught me diplomacy and how to get spanked and shit like that.
Did you go to high school in Texas?
Yes. But he was a fighter pilot. He was a total fucking badass. Nobody in here, unless you're a fighter pilot, can possibly imagine the shit that he's seen and done. Going twice the speed of sound under a bridge, shit like that.
My dad was in 3 wars. He had this eagle on his arm that was just like a scribble, like a Rorschach test. And he'd run around the house with a gas mask on, beating the shit out of us. Sweet. Now the thing is, he was a tech sergeant. He was a tech sergeant.
Was he in the Air Force?
Yeah.
So we have...
Or Bond.
No, my father was in the Air Force as well.
Holy what the...
My father was an intelligence officer, and he was a bass-playing spy. He'd play, like, Eastern Europe, but they didn't expect black guys to have language skills, and he speaks like 5 languages. So...
I was going to go to your grandfather and reading Ring magazine. I was reading these zines about how, the boxing. Yeah, but no, I think it's
that wasn't my father's father. That was my mother's grandmother's 3rd husband.
But there's a paternal Air Force kind of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learning manners. When I see you play live on YouTube, electronic fart, add that rhythmically. I noticed that people get up in your face and you just kind of, as long as they're not fucking with your equipment, you just kind of deal with it. You're just like...
I don't have any equipment. Now, if Eugene got in my face, you'd see me move really quickly. I'd be gone.
You know what Albini told me about him the first time I worked with Albini, before I really met him? He said, he goes, you're a fighter and all that. He goes, but who's like the greatest athlete and has the greatest natural strength of any musicians I've ever worked with? And he said, who? I said, asked him who, and he said, Yao. So of course, then we played a show with them. This is about 15 years ago. So I sought him out, it was the first conversation ever. I walked backstage at the Fillmore and said, hey, have friends in common, and said hello, it was a brief conversation. But I had initially gone by with the intention to wrestle with David. But when I got to your dressing room, like all you guys were standing like, who is this guy? Why is he in our fucking dressing room? I thought better of it. I just said, we can exchange blows later.
Maybe now?
Now I'm so broken up from fighting, it would be a wash. He'd win.
That's weird. I don't know why Steve would say that. I mean, he weighed probably at the time 95 pounds.
Did you guys wrestle?
No,
I wrestled with Steve.
We've shot 1,000 billion games of pool.
Yeah, that's got to do with him. He's very good.
We never wrestled. We made out.
Bisexuality in the post-punk scene. You have a comment on that, Eugene?
That phrase, bi-curious, I love that phrase. It just cracks me up. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about things I do once or twice, but, can you claim curiosity if you've done it 40 or 50 times? I'm curious. I don't know what's going to happen this time.
You have a great comment about fighting, which is that it's like being an alcoholic. And you never quite get over it. You're always an alcoholic, and you're always fighting. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, well, especially now that I'm actually training to fight about either 7 to 9 times a week. So, and the last competition I had was in Long Beach. I sustained nerve damage on my way to a 2nd place finish, but my hand now has this palsied shape because I got this nerve damage. So these 3 fingers I have tingling in. But the doctor said take 3 months off, and I have not been able to do that. So it is. It fits the definition of an addiction, where, stopping would be better, continuing is worse, and I can't stop.
You've never been able to back off from overtraining?
It's not overtraining. I mean, come on, I just pinched a nerve. Happen to anybody. What is this, like an intervention? Off my back.
I have people to talk to you. Kathy, did you have a comment?
You're hurting yourself.
David?
What?
Did you really fling shit in Detroit in 1986?
No.
That was a flour, brown, water mixture.
It was water and flour and food coloring. Fuck GGL.
Now I knew G.G. Allen as a very nice man. I reviewed his first record, and he was very sweet. If you watch the G.G. Allen DVDs, if you notice, he never swings first.
I wonder who one that is.
You think Gigi was getting pussy? Oh, you're calling him a pussy.
Teeny dick.
Eugene?
No, I would never call you Gigi.
Please, sir. I wouldn't.
You're not that
Not that curious.
I'm wondering about your film work. Both of you have done small films. You've acted. You've been part of that. Are you doing that now, or?
Well, no, yeah, I'm trying to. I want to. There's actually there's a role that I am sort of up for right now for an actual, honest to God, real major motion picture with a budget and everything. That I want this so badly I can't even tell you. And I wish that I could tell you what the project is, but I'm not able to do so. However, if it happens, I'll know probably within 2 weeks, you'll know.
Wish you the best on that.
Thanks. I want it.
And maybe if you're lucky, it'll be as good as Lennon Part 6 was, which is Lennon Part 6. 1987.
You were in Bill Cosby's movie?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I still get paid for it too, so you should hear. That was a high quality motion picture. I think it was voted the worst movie of
the year
ever. Definitely of the year for sure. Yeah.
What other movies have you been in, Eugene?
Miller commercial.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, Miller Genuine Draft commercial, which was only called a film business because Gus Van Sant directed it. See,
nice.
Directors do this shit because commercials don't flop. So, and they don't have their names associated with it. They can make tons of fucking cash on the side. So of the guys who auditioned for it, I was probably one of the few who knew it was Gus Van Sant in the back of the room behind the camera. So that was kind of cool.
What was it like to work with him?
He's I actually borrowed from the Gus Van Sant character for my character in A Long Slow Screw. He's one of those guys that you say things to him and it's like he's translating it to a language he understands before he responds. And then later I found out he was an alcoholic, so it kind of made sense. But yeah, that's it. I spent 2 days with the guy, that's all I know.
David, do you journal? Do you write?
No. I can barely read.
How did you get into graphic design?
I was into drawing my whole life. My father, although he was a fighter pilot, he also, when he was a kid, he was sort of torn between either being a visual artist or a fighter pilot. He could draw really well, as his mom as well. And so I went to sort of art school for a couple of years in college, and then, at the time I wanted to be a teach art at a university kind of thing. But then punk rock came along, fucked everything up, and then I learned Photoshop in '92, '3 or something. And then so when the Jesus Movement broke up, I just started doing photo retention.
You're doing gallery shows too. There was that one I was going to make it down there.
Yeah. A couple of years, a year and a half or so ago, this guy, Kevin Rodmanis, who played bass in the Cows and the Melvins and stuff, and he was doing these really cool paintings and stuff, and he was having a gallery show, and he told the gallery owner in LA about me, and the guy said, "Oh, you do paintings and drawings?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's been 8 years since I did anything." He asked if I'd like to have a show, and I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And he said, "Okay, in 3 months, let's have a show." And so in 3 months, I did 18 pieces, and then since then, it's been kind of, I don't know, lightly blossoming. Like I had a show in New York, and I'm told that if you sell one piece, that's really good, and I sold 5. But the problem is that if you break it down hourly, which I haven't done, but I'm guessing maybe about 30 cents an hour. That's not, it's fun and it's a neat way to waste money. But I don't know, man.
Eugene, you were a big fan of comics growing up. Were you ever an artist?
Everybody in my family is, but I've not managed to have any graphical skill at all. I mean, I'm not bad, but not enough where, I've gotten on stage to do musical theater as a child and a teenager, and commercials and modeling and shit like that, but I've never actually felt comfortable enough to show anybody my drawings or anything. So.
Have you thought about writing a graphic novel?
I have. A Long Slow Screw, somebody at Dark Horse has sort of sent some feelers out about turning that into a comic book, an illustrated book. But that wouldn't be me doing the drawing, no way.
I'd love to see that.
But it's coming out, actually, so the first time it got out of the yard, it's going to be released in France in January, in French. So they had to change the title from A Long Slow Screw to something else, because apparently A Long Slow Screw is untranslatable.
In French?
Yeah, it really is. Because it either focuses too much on the action or the screw itself as an item. The double meaning that works doesn't work in French. So we spent months trying to figure it out. Couldn't do it. So.
When you wrote Long Slow Screw, did you start with a jewel heist idea? Or was it like a collection of characters from your life that you went into? And how did that book come about?
I wanted to write a New York story because I'm a New Yorker, but I've not lived in New York for a long time. So, and I used to work out in this gym in Ridgewood called the Olympia, which is on the border between Brooklyn and Queens. And it took me about 3 months of working out there before I figured out that all the cuisines that I worked out with were all mob guys. I was 16, I hadn't figured this out yet. So I figured that was a place for me to put some of their stories where I wouldn't get killed for having put their stories. But it's fiction.
It's a wonderful piece of fiction. It's I grew up on Black Lizard. I grew up on those kind of books, and Jim Thompson and Charles Wolford, and I believe it's part of that canon. You've been kind of critical about Rollins' writing. Rollins is interviewing.
No, I haven't. Where did you read that?
No.
He's interviewing some pussy guitar band across town right now.
He's actually seen the show. I haven't seen it. I've not been critical of Rollins' writing. I've had nothing but positive things to say about that guy.
Now hold on. Okay.
And if I don't, I'm going to sell tickets to it when I dish for real out something.
Have you ever fucked with Rollins in any way? Like you guys did anything together?
No, we used to be friends. They used to stay at my house when Black Flag would come through town, so I don't have anything bad to say. Henry is a modern Horatio Alger man. I have nothing bad to say about that guy. You're looking at me like you don't believe me. You show me one text reference, a public reference where I've said anything bad about him, and I'll eat it. What?
Uh-oh. Well, it was on the computer today. Here's the thing.
What did you find?
Rollins needs an editor. I think you were saying something about I think your stuff is really tightly written.
Yeah.
I think you know what to, you're very focused.
Yeah.
And he just kind of splatters all over the place.
I never said that though.
No, you're right.
Yeah. I didn't even say that just now.